I find it very interesting that a lot of the teachers who teach these teachings and teach meditation practice, did you ever notice that they never refer to each other? They never refer to each other. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. I think it's very valuable for you to hear other people talk from their point of view about this. That's very valuable, right? And so that's why I do refer people. That's why I do say, listen to Rupert Spira, or I do say, listen to, whoever it is that I'm talking about at the particular time. Ramesh Valsakar, for example. Because I think it's very important to hear the way people talk about this from different angles, right? Because the key to this teaching and practice, if it's going to make any difference, is that you see it for yourself. There needs to be a time when you let go of when you let go of the need to have somebody teach you about this, and you begin to see what they are talking about. There has to be a time when you begin to see what they're talking about, because what they're talking about is something that, while it may not be non-conceptual, right? It may not be non-conceptual, but it's not a problem that it's non-conceptual because you're experiencing it. You see what I'm saying? It's not a problem that it's non-conceptual because you're experiencing it, and that which is non-conceptual is not just the concepts about the truth. That which is non-conceptual is the truth. And that which is non-conceptual is the truth that you are. That's the thing about this that's so hard to, or seems so hard to get a handle on. You know what I mean? If I say to you that all these teachings and practices, it could be simply said that all these teachings and practices are about you. They're about you. Why? Because you, and that's one of the reasons that these things are so radical when you try and understand them as they relate to your conditioning, right? And the reason that these teachings and practices are about you is because you are all there is. That's pretty radical, right? You are all there is. Meaning that you are consciousness, and consciousness is all there is. So you have that, right? You have that. You're being presented with that idea, and you have that idea as it appears next to the idea that you've been operating with up until now. And the difference between those two things is so dramatic, isn't it? That's dramatic. To say that, you thought you were a physical body, you thought you were a personality, you thought the world was what you thought it was. It was an objective reality. You thought you were separate from other people, right? All of that, right? All of that. And then you hear the truth, and the truth says, no, none of that's true. That can't be anything more radical than that, to say that everything you thought was true isn't true. That's about as radical as it can be, right? And then the thing about it is you can understand the concepts that are spoken about, and you can do the practice that are spoken about because you're attracted to this message, you're attracted to these teachings and these practices. Do you know why you're attracted?
Thy will be done.
That's true. That's true, but that's not the answer.
Because they are attractive. We think it's going to put an end to our suffering, and we think it's going to be the answer.
You make the word attractive because it's the truth.
Well, yes, to both those things, right? But that wouldn't be enough.
We've experienced awareness.
What's that?
We've experienced awareness. That we've seen it.
Yeah, you see, you're right. You're very close. Close enough for a star. You're very close. That's close enough to win a star. Because when you say because we experienced the truth, right? It's because you are the truth. And you're hearing you. You're hearing you when you hear the truth. You're hearing you. So it's like, oh, that's familiar. Isn't it true that when you listen to these teachings, it's like, how do I know that I know that? Right? right? Because what we're talking about here, I'm not telling you what the traditional institutionalized religions told you. I'm not saying the Bible tells you so. I'm not saying have faith. I'm not saying believe in this. I'm not saying any of that, right? You don't have to do any of that, right? The reason you don't have to do anything like that is because you already know this. See, the word recognize is a very important word, right? If I say, do you recognize yourself? In order for you to recognize something, don't you already have to know it? Yeah, you do, right? So what you're hearing when you hear this message and these practices, you're hearing a message that is talking about you. And so you feel it, right? You feel the truth is true. It's not just that you understand it, it's not just that you believe it, it's not just that you have faith in it. You actually feel that it's true because you're it. You're experiencing what I'm talking about. You are experiencing what these teachings are teaching about. You are experiencing what these practices are practicing. You're experiencing it. The thing that is the real focus of this process is for you to allow yourself to accept that. Really, because if it's true that you are it, and if it's true that consciousness is all there is, right? And if it's true that you're already experiencing that, if it's true that you're already feeling that to be the case, right? All you have to do then is stop paying attention to the thought process that says that it's other than that, right? Stop paying attention to the thought process that says that it's other than that. Not so easy, right? Why? Because you have you've been depending on the thought process to tell you what the truth is. The thought process cannot tell you what the truth is. It can't do it. I'm saying that you've always been here, you've never been anywhere else. I'm trying to kill the illusion that there's anywhere to get. Right? I'm trying to get you to accept the fact that this isn't going anywhere. This is not going anywhere. How are you going to know when you get there when there's nowhere to get? Right? How are you going to know when you get there when you're coming from where you're trying to get to? How are you going to know when you're there when you're coming from where you're trying to get to? It's really that simple, right? The thing that makes it complicated is when you take that information and put it into the mind chokes on it and spits it out. It says, no, that's not it. That can't be it. That can't be it. Why? Because everything says that can't be it. My conditioning says that can't be it. My feelings tell me that can't be it. The thoughts tell me that can't be it. The news tells me it can't be it. Other people tell me it can't be it. What I learned in school tells me it can't be it. How I feel tells me it can't be it. And that's the program that's running. That's the program that's running. The program that's running is a program that could be called, this isn't it. Right? The program that's running could be called, this isn't it, or it could be called, I'm not it. I'm not it, and this isn't it. And if that's the program that's running, and the running of that program, right, is hypnotizing you to stay in a dream. The running of that program is hypnotizing you to stay in a dream. And that dream is a dream that keeps being produced by the thought process and by the brain. And that keeps being produced by the thought process and the brain, and it keeps being reproduced consistent with what appears to be true, right? It keeps occurring to be consistent with what appears to be true. So you have what is consistent, what appears to be true. You have what people agree on is true. You have what your thought process is true. You have what your conditioning tells you is true. You have what your DNA says is true. So how the hell do you deal with that? How do you get out of that? That's why, as time passes, it's more clear than ever to me that you don't get out of that. Trying to get out of that is guaranteed going to keep you stuck. And that takes me right back to what Paul Hederman said. You don't have to get out of something you're not in. You don't have to get out of something you're not in. So all you have to do is understand that. And the understanding of that, while you can understand that conceptually, right? The understanding of that will fly in the face of the way things occur to you. Doesn't it? That understanding flies in the face of the way things occur to you. And so because that's the case, the thought process and the voice in your head keeps telling you, oh, you don't have it yet. You're not there. Because every time the truth flies in the face of the way things occur to you, the voice in your head plays, right? And it says, there's a whole variety of ways that it expresses itself. It says that you're not it, this isn't it, you're not okay, it's not okay, it's wrong, it should be different, it should be right. It has all different ways of playing the program. But the bottom line of the program, right, is to do what?
Keep you in it.
So, no, wait a minute. She said to keep you alive, right? I don't want to step over that because that's not necessarily wrong if keep you alive means to survive, right? But for who to survive? For what to survive?
Body.
Okay, so the body. That's a good thing, by the way. There's no problem with the program being for the body to survive, right? Because without the body, you can't be here in the time-space world. So that's good. That's not a problem. What is a problem? Well, but that part of it isn't that bad because survival of the body is important and is necessary for us to keep playing this game we're playing. So that's not so bad, right? It's not understanding it's a game that's the problem, right? You take life seriously. You take yourself seriously. Everything's personal, right? Because everything's happening to you, so it must be personal, right? You take that very seriously. You learn to take that very seriously, right? Because in order to survive in this world, you have to take care of number one. You have to take care of yourself, right? So you become a survival machine. And what it is that you're having survive through the thinking process and the feeling process and the interpretations that go on that your brain makes, what you spend almost all of your energy surviving, this is the problem. What you spend most of all of your energy surviving doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. That's what Mooji meant when he said that you're, and he isn't the only one that said this. Other people have said this, But he said that you are wasting most of your energy. You're wasting most of your energy because most of your energy is being burned up in useless thinking, right? Mind wandering. It's being burned up in useless thinking. It's being burned up in useless emotional reactions. It's being burned up in muscle tension in your body, right? No wonder people are tired. So if you begin to understand the truth, you stop giving your attention, which is energy, you stop giving your attention to things that aren't real. After a kid finds out there's no Santa Claus, they don't think about it that much, right? There's nothing to think about. When I thought there was a Santa Claus, I thought that I had to really behave myself in order to get the presents on Christmas, right? But now I find out there's no Santa Claus. So I don't have to think about that anymore. Right? It's interesting because in my view, the relationship between Santa Claus and Christmas and organized religion and human behavior are the same thing. Isn't it? If you don't behave yourself, God is watching. God is keeping track. And if you don't behave yourself, you'll go to hell. That's like Christmas morning and no present. So the biggest detrimental reality of organized religion is the idea of sin. The whole idea of sin creates a situation for human beings that has endless creative ways of suffering. Being a sinner, doing it wrong. So if you take that out of the picture, right? If you take that out of the picture, that you never did anything wrong. Now, you see, the thing is, it seems these days that I can't talk at all without ending up back here again. Right? Because if there's no sin, it means you never did anything wrong, right? And why is it that you never did anything wrong? And why is it that there's no sin? But see, the thing is this. It's a good point that you're making. I think I don't have free will. I've been told I don't have free will. I believe I don't have free will. The teachers say I don't have free will, right? But it ain't occurring to me that way, is it? No, it doesn't occur to me like I don't have free will. It occurs to me that I do. Why? Because everybody knows you have free will. That's reality by agreement, not reality by truth. That's reality by agreement, not reality by truth, right? The evidence makes it absolutely abundantly crystal clear that you don't have free will. But who pays attention to the evidence? Right? I mean, that's what politics is all about, right? The evidence is irrelevant. Just believe what I tell you, right? That's conditioning. Yeah, so the thing is this, whether you believe it or not, whether you think it or not, whether it's an absolute truth or not, as Ramesh Balsekar said, don't worry about any of that. Live as if it's true and see what happens. Live as if it's true and see what happens. And if you do live as if it's true, and you see that what happens is you discover peace, and you discover an experience of fulfillment, that you discover that you can really relax. One of the ways that you know that you're enlightened is boredom. Because if all the things that used to bother me and upset me don't bother me and upset me anymore, I'm bored. I don't have anything, I don't have anything to deal with anymore. I'm bored. So the big challenge, once you really do succeed in not being upset anymore, the next challenge is allowing yourself to enjoy your life. Because the mind will keep saying, oh, something must be wrong. Doesn't it? You try and relax, and the mind will say, oh, yeah, that's not necessarily a good idea. Something must be wrong. Don't just...
I don't know what it is yet. No, something is wrong.
That's right. And I'm going to find out what it is. And it's probably got something to do with you. Right? It's probably got something to do with you, or it's probably got something to do with life, or it's probably got something to do with my past, or it's probably got something to do with the circumstances I find myself in, right? Something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. And if you just relax and enjoy yourself, people are going to look at you like, you're naive. Don't you understand the situation we're in? Don't you understand the situation we're in? Are you watching the news? How can you not be upset? You cannot be upset because what's different is you're not ignorant anymore. So these teachings and practices, the purpose of these teachings and practices is to remove the ignorance, to remove the darkness, so that you can see things as they are in the light of awareness, And that really is all that needs to happen. And here's the deal. It's already happened. It's already happened. But you see, the thing is, you have to be able to take these understandings and apply them in the moment-to-moment experience you're having of your life, which is getting produced by thinking most of the time, isn't it? Yeah. So that's why paying attention becomes important. That's why we practice meditation. If there's one thing about meditation that I think is more important than anything else, and I don't hear this being emphasized, I'm not sure why, But in meditation, more than anything else, what you're practicing is paying attention, aren't you? Yeah. Why? Why would that be the case? And why would paying attention be so important?
We spend so much time mind wandering.
Okay, yes, true. Yeah, paying attention is important because you could say it that way, that because without paying attention, we continue to mechanically and automatically just stay lost in the mind. Mind wander, right? Mind wandering, right? So paying attention becomes very, very important. So you can pay attention so that you notice when you're being ignorant. And if you do pay attention and you do notice when you're being ignorant, you will notice in the beginning that it's most of the time. It's most of the time. Your interpretation of reality, when left to the devices of your conditioning, is a misunderstanding. Your interpretation of reality, when left to the devices of your conditioning, is a misunderstanding. And within that misunderstanding, you're suffering because you don't know the difference between that and reality. Because time in and of itself doesn't make any difference. It doesn't. There are people that, we would like to think that age makes a difference, but mostly it doesn't make any difference at all. It makes it worse.
We're more conditioned.
What's that? Yeah.
Have more years of conditioning.
Yeah, you've practiced being stupid longer. You practice being stupid longer. And when you're being stupid and you're practicing being stupid and you don't know you're being stupid, you suffer. But that's beside the point. The point is, as we sit here, as you sit here, and we sit here and we talk about it and we look at this, right? What this is about is whether or not you're going to stay ignorant. That's what's important, right? Whether you're going to stay ignorant. And the only way out of ignorance is to practice paying attention and seeing what's actually happening. And then the concepts that you're learning about the truth are no longer concepts about the truth, right? They become pointers to the truth, not concepts about the truth. That's why it's important. Who was I talking to the other day about this? I forget now. But one of the things I like about Ramesh Balsekar is he slows the process down enough, right? And says to you as he speaks, I am not telling you the truth, I'm giving you concepts about it. That's very important for people to understand. It's the same thing here, right? The only possible thing we can do is conceptually communicate about it, right? So I don't know, when we have these classes, for example, and you ask me questions, it's very important for you to understand, when you ask me a question, I'm giving you an answer. Right? But I'm not giving you the answer like it's the Bible. The Bible tells me so. I'm not giving you the answer like it's the Bible. In fact, I'm telling you, please do not believe what I say. If you believe what I say, you won't be in any better shape than you've been before this. You're just changing your beliefs, right? No, don't believe what I say. Look to where I'm pointing. Look at what I'm talking about for yourself. And see it for yourself. If you see it for yourself, you don't have to believe anything, you don't have to have faith in anything. And if you see it for yourself, nothing will be realer to you than that. Is it not the case? You know that you exist. Nothing can be realer for you than that. And if you look from there at what's happening, it looks different than it does when you look from the viewpoint of a person. Okay. Any other last minute questions before we retire this meeting? Just remember one thing. Ultimately speaking, you have nothing to say about this. Ultimately speaking, you have nothing to say about whether or not you experience enlightenment in this lifetime. You have nothing to say about it. You have no choice about it. There's nothing you can do to make it happen. I'm talking to the person now. Right? You have nothing to say about it. There's nothing you can do to make it happen. But it's a good sign that you're here. Right? Because if you're here, maybe you're here because you're on the conveyor belt to enlightenment.
Oh, we did because we didn't have a choice.
That's right. And maybe one of the things that's going to determine whether you end up where you're headed is whether you can actually completely accept the idea that you have no say-so. That's a big one, isn't it? Yeah. So that's what there is to deal with. And your brain and your mind will keep producing the narrative and the voiceover and the thought process that says that not only do you have something to do with how things go, but it's up to you. It's the opposite, isn't it? Society and the conditioning tells you it's up to you. It's up to you. The truth is, you have nothing to say about it. I think that's pretty funny. All right, see you next time.